Welcome to the Chief of Cybersecurity podcast, where we discuss relevant information concerning the cybersecurity workforce, business development, and best practices, made possible by CMIS. Learn more at CMIS.net. And for a list of authorized publications, visit DewayneHart.com. And now, here's your host, Dewayne Hart.
Hello. Welcome to the last podcast session for season 1. It has been enjoyable. I also like to give thanks out to Global Podcast Studios for helping me host this podcast session. And for the listeners that have been listening to the information that I've shared. What I'm going to do today in this last episode for season 1 is to really do a summary, but that summary is based on trying to employ cybersecurity because we want to see how cybersecurity really operates, okay? Because episode 1 through 14 gave you like the big view of cybersecurity and some of those different areas such as the cybersecurity DNA, workforce development, trying to build your career, talks about isolation, talks about varying different type of topics. So what I want to do now is to encapsulate those topics and to see how they really are supposed to operate. Okay? Because cybersecurity is supposed to work. Cybersecurity is here to be functional. But the only way that cybersecurity can be functional is that if people can carry it out in a particular manner that actually works. And part of that is strategizing and to have different having some different strategies in place. All right. So let's just dive into this for a second and talk about what we're going to accomplish and to see how cybersecurity is supposed to operate. We're going to summarize season 1. All right. I'm just going to go through and just give a brief summarization on some of the high-end topics that I spoke about and just bring to light what those topics are. We're going to recap the cybersecurity mindset because there was some discussion points that I had based on my upcoming book release called the Cybersecurity Mindset. And what I am going to do is to be focused into the cybersecurity mindset and just breaking it down once more because the cybersecurity mindset is what drives us. It actually gives us a thinking model. It actually is the mentality that is required to navigate cybersecurity. Typical environments. This is where cybersecurity operates. So for the people that have never been around the cybersecurity workforce, and if you're wondering, okay, what is it that cybersecurity people actually do on a daily basis? Okay, what are those typical type of environments that actually exist? I am going to break it down, and I'm going to show what those particular environments are. Okay, and then I'm going to roll into your security operations. Okay, here is where I'm going to focus on looking at cybersecurity in action. Okay, what is it that happens every day, and what are those best practices? Okay, because we want to see how cybersecurity operates. All right, because we need to see how cybersecurity operate because all the pieces of the puzzle has been discussed. Now what happens is we're going to put that puzzle together and make cybersecurity operate. All right. Now we realize that in the realm of operation, there are always going to be some challenges, and this is where resilience comes to play a key role in the cybersecurity mindset. The last chapter is called the adaptive mindset, and under the adaptive mindset, I actually talk about being resilient, okay? Because changes happen on a daily basis. And in the cybersecurity workforce and as a professional, you as a person have to be resilient, okay? And you have to drive resilience. So I really want to focus on that as well. So let's take some looks here. All right. We also want to make note that that much of this information that I have spoken about, you can go find on those 3 podcast channels that I have. If you go to my website, www.dewayneHart.com, you will see links to my podcast sessions, and also you will see the trailers to my book publications as well. All right, so let's dive into this podcast session here and talk about season 1. So when I started off with season 1, I actually focused on the introduction to cybersecurity. All right, because I wanted to break down cybersecurity and to give an overall relationship of what cybersecurity was about. So we know that there is the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And those are the foundation to cybersecurity itself. Also, too, we stress talking about risk, and threats times vulnerabilities equal risk. Then focus more toward you as a person. Think about the individual protection needs that you need to have in place. Okay, why is it that you need to protect yourself? Think about privacy. Those were some of the critical issues that were discussed, but also too, the cybersecurity DNA was discussed a lot too, because the cybersecurity DNA talks about having these building blocks, and you can take 24 building blocks and you can label them privacy, information, protection, workforce development, or like whatever, right? And if one of those blocks fail, then you just destroyed the cybersecurity DNA, because they are the genetic makeup for cybersecurity. And every organization has a cybersecurity DNA, but organizations have to build that DNA and practice the inclusive culture and practice the growth mindset and think about situational awareness and some of the other topics that I actually have in the cybersecurity mindset that will keep your cybersecurity DNA active. I also focus on workforce development, because I cannot talk about cybersecurity without talking about workforce development. We are in a stage of digital modernization now. As technology begins to change, so does the workforce. Workforce improvement programs are pretty much required. All right. If you are not trying to develop yourself, which is part of your individual development plan, part of your resume, okay, you're going to fail yourself in this workforce. So I stress a lot about workforce development, because the workforce is overlooked as technology grows. So you have to include pieces of the workforce and ways to improve the workforce. I also brought into existence about business development. If you're a business owner, right, such as cybersecurity, for small businesses, privacy is very important, and you have to protect information because you're liable if there's a data breach, and you have to train your employees, because human behavioral factors contribute to cybersecurity failure. And if you do not correct it, then it could harm your organization. All right. So I talked about some of the security best practice like isolation. All right. I talked about having a wall up, and that wall serves as isolation. And when you break that wall down, that's when the door is open. And if you think about the front door to your house, when you lock it, it is a part of isolation, because you isolate people from the outside from coming into your home. If you leave your door open, it's fair game. Somebody walks straight up through the door, right? So I spoke about isolation. Some of the other type of security best practices is to go have people to work together as a team. All right. Think about some of the things that you need to do with your passwords. Think about social media. Think about the sharing of information, right? When you share information, you really need to be wise about what you're sharing because it can come back to hunt you. So one of the things I always like to say is, how can cybersecurity be used? All right. Cybersecurity serves as a defensive and offensive type of methodology. Now, I'm speaking of defensive is saying this, right? If you have a bubble, and if you look on the outside of the bubble, for anyone that tried to infiltrate a system, this is where defensive tactics comes to play a key role. Offensive tactics is looking from the inside, all right? What can you do on the inside of the company or the organization to protect the organization? Things like having auditing in place, all right? Things like doing your compliance checks, okay? Offensive security is very important because that is on you. That is on your team. Defensive is about the other team, okay? And trying to prevent them from infiltrating the bubble. So those are some really great terms, that would follow you through. So let's recap the cybersecurity mindset. What is the cybersecurity mindset? The cybersecurity mindset is nothing more than the mentality required to activate cybersecurity, all right? Or you can look at the cybersecurity mindset as the thinking process that actually need to be in place to go and engage cybersecurity. If you think about the term mentality, it is about the way somebody thinks, right? So with the cybersecurity mindset, are you thinking proactively? Are you thinking about the growth mindset? All right. Now, what it does is that it helps to align security across an organization, because all of us have to think, all right? But what are we thinking about? Okay. If we're not thinking about cybersecurity, and if we don't put it as a focus, as a priority, then it becomes useless. And when it becomes useless, that's when we fail. Because one of the key terms that I always talk about is that wearing that hacker's hat. Because the cybersecurity mindset is about wearing the hacker's hat. Now, think of the hacker's hat as the hacker's mentality. Because hackers share information. Hackers are great at sharing information. Regular people do not share information. This is where the cybersecurity mindset comes to surface. We should be sharing information. All right. There's some information that people do not wish to share because of embarrassment. But you know what? If you're working in the industry there, we all have to share information. Now, I am speaking about if you're working on a job and if you have coworkers that know information, yeah, you should share this well too. Because see, the hacker's mindset is that I want to find the weakest link. And you as a cybersecurity professional should be thinking about that too. Am I the weakest link? Because if you could displace yourself into a hacker's mind, you could think like a hacker. And once you think like a hacker, that's when your mindset changes, and that's when you become proactive. That's when you understand defense. That's when you understand that you all need to work in a culture together, because hackers work in a culture, because there's an inclusive culture with our hackers, okay? Because they're branded. See, they think alike. See, they speak the same language, and they share information. So just take that same concept and apply it to the cybersecurity mindset. Because a portion of the cybersecurity mindset is talking about situational awareness. This is your environmental knowledge. If you think about your homes, And when you leave your home, like you know what lights are on and you know what the TV is off. So if you come back home and you find your lights on, this is your environmental knowledge. You know that you did not leave it on. And this is where your situational awareness comes to surface, because that's your environmental knowledge. And part of the cybersecurity mindset is to have situational awareness. I always talk about the cyber senses, because we as humans have senses such as touching, smelling, feel and seeing and hearing. But the cyber senses is this next level. Your cyber senses activate when you see that your laptop has been logged on. This is your cyber senses, because if you leave your if you leave your laptop on your desk, and if you close it down and you know it's logged off, and you come back to that laptop and you notice that the laptop is open and that someone has logged on, this is your cyber senses coming to activate, because that's your knowledge of knowing that when you left, it was closed and it was logged off. We all have cyber senses. And I always wrote, and I stated in my book, The Cybersecurity Mindset, is that we as people have to trust our senses. When you come back to your house and you know the light's on, you're going to trust your senses, okay? You just can't say, oh, yeah, well, maybe I left the light switch off or something like that. Or maybe I forgot to turn it out. Listen, your senses are talking to you. Investigate. People, process, and technologies make up the cybersecurity mindset. All right? Because the cybersecurity mindset is about thinking. Okay? How can people, process, and technologies work together? Because if you think about the way that people approach cybersecurity, some of them will look at cybersecurity as deemed as important, where others will look at cybersecurity as something like this useless type of word that goes around. All right. Now their mindset can change, and that is dependent on the type of culture that they're involved with. Okay, because part of the inclusive culture is to go have a branded group of people that is focused on cybersecurity, and also too that is thinking about the growth mindset. Okay, because the growth mindset is about, hey, we haven't had an incident, but you know what? We still need to investigate, because a car itself will go have a bad part, and you still can drive that car, right? And you drive that car about 20 miles down the road, then it breaks down on you, right? So we know that eventually it will fail. And the same concept towards cybersecurity. You can be operating every day and you don't have an incident, and you can say that I'm 100% safe. No, that's not right. There's always room for error. And this is the growth mindset. How can we get better? All right. We're good, but how can we get better? This is where the growth mindset comes to surface. So to recap, the cybersecurity mindset is the mentality that is required to operate cybersecurity. It is thinking defensive. It is thinking proactively. It is about being involved. It is about wearing a hacker's hat. It's about situational awareness, and it's about thinking risk. All right. So let's move on here and talk about a typical environment. All right. Here is a typical type of environment for like everyone. There are different label categories that are operated on the inside of cybersecurity. And these label categories are set up because people have different functions. Because you have a networking team and you have security engineering teams, You have people that are involved with data protection, cloud governance, metrics, and reporting. All right. So what happens is that all of these personnel are there working to make cybersecurity become functional. Now let's picture this. When you get ready to send your email out, right, there are usually people that work on the help desk team that can set up your email, okay? And at the back end of those of the email, there's an infrastructure, and there's a group of people that are responsible for making sure that the email can go out because of encryption, because of other different standards, and also too because of the cloud. So they put these pieces together and to make your email go out because you need data loss prevention in place. You need to make sure that, as I said before, encryption is in place. All right. And you need to make sure that the software is operating as well. So in a typical type of environment, there are networking people that are responsible for your email. There's some security engineers that actually make sure, they actually put the puzzle together and making sure that your identity management assets work. All right. Then you have data protection, because if you send information out, it needs to be encrypted. And if you're using the cloud, then you have people that work in the cloud environment. All right. And then governance is up off of management. There is thinking about the strategic vision of the company and saying, we need to update the email servers over the next 20 years, the next 5 years. Then there's metrics and reporting. People are keeping account on how much email you go send out and where you send your email. All right. So you have a whole group of people that are helping you out when it comes to email. Now, part of that is security operations. Here goes the pieces that go along with your security operations. And I'm going to talk about the best practices here, because this is how cybersecurity is supposed to operate. All right. Incident response is responsible for managing incidents. If a system is infiltrated, that's their job. Okay. Then you have endpoint security, is to making sure that your desktop or laptop is secured. Now with these endpoint security like malware, making sure that people can't go to restricted sites, because you have to have certain types of control in place. This is how cybersecurity operates, okay? Because the word secure means to protect and maintain, all right? So what organizations have to do is to protect the enterprise and to go maintain cybersecurity. Malware defense is very important too, because malware or viruses happens every day, right? You cannot download information to your laptop that is restricted from websites because it may have virus. And part of the security operation is to go and make sure that you can't do that. New services are always added as well. And these new services may be different application or systems, that come online. And cybersecurity professional has to make sure that the new services can operate, because we're in a stage of digital modernization now. And part of that is to test it out prior to you putting it on the system. That's a best practice. Some of the other things is that meetings, right? Cybersecurity people have meetings all the time, so they can figure out exactly what actually needs to happen next for trying to upgrade a system. Upgrades happen all the time, but you have to test upgrades out. This is security in its operational form now, okay? You have to test it out. Cybersecurity professionals do administrative work all day. So you got to make sure that your documentation is correct, because if your documentation is wrong, everyone that is involved with endpoint security, malware defense, network security may get the wrong piece of information. All right. This is where the communication change comes to play. This is best practices into work. Plenty of emails. Yeah, cybersecurity people get plenty of emails every day. But, some of that email is about things that need to get worked on, because that's where they are able to understand some of the best practice and try to communicate some of the best practices. All right. So when you see security and seeing how it operates every day, what you're looking at is pretty much an environment where people are driving protection. They are making sure encryption in place. They are making sure that social media accounts are not accessed if the environment states it. They are also making sure that you stay safe. This is security in operation, because this is how it operates. Because the typical environment has networking, and it has security engineering, you have data protection, and you have governance, and you have people that are gathering metrics and reporting and numbers. All right. And there are incident response teams, and there's endpoint security, and these brand new services are always coming on board because companies are always upgrading. This is how cybersecurity operates, because it's a changing environment. All right. So I really want people to think about that. Okay. This is how cybersecurity operates on a daily basis, because it operates because of the cybersecurity mindset, and it operates because they're typical type of environments, and also too because there are different type of layers and teams that are working to make sure that you're safe. Okay. So we are down, and this is the last episode, and I like to give my personal thanks to the Global Podcast Studio and all my listeners for like tuning in to season 1. Season 1 is a close now, but I'm gonna tell you about season 2. Season 2 theme is called Activating the Cybersecurity Mindset. Season 2 is really taking everything that has been discussed this year and actually putting it to work, because season 1 was about onboarding people and having listeners to understand cybersecurity. Season 2 is about putting it to work now. All right. And I gave you a small glimpse of seeing, let's see how it operates, because in season 2, this is what we are going to be talking about. Okay. Activating the cybersecurity mindset too, because the cybersecurity mindset is going to play a key role for season 2. I am going to have visitors that are going to come to the show, and we're going to be dissecting some of the industry issues. We're going to break those industry issues down. We're going to show you how the information in season 1 applies to activating your cybersecurity mindset, and also taking cybersecurity and make it functional. All right. So everyone, you go look out for my book release, and let's get ready for season 2.
You've been listening to the Chief of Cybersecurity podcast, where you have gained relevant knowledge to enhance your cybersecurity mindset. Be sure to visit DewayneHart.com to learn more about authored publications, show notes, and discover more information concerning cybersecurity.